weeks.
A disgrace as a police officer.
America isn't ready for the real me.
How's it gonna look in your report?
Hollywood, this is 6 Adam 7.
To stay away from the men.
Bloody Christmas. The press love to label.
Welcome back to Cocktail Cinema, folks, your weekly movie review podcast. As always, I'm your first favorite bartender, third favorite author, Josh Price, and I'm joined by my co-host, Greg, and our producer, Shasti.
Glad to be here, buddy.
Yo.
Rugged.
So this week, we're going to be talking about a big film in a year of big films.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
this is L.A. Confidential from 1997. This movie went up against, at the Oscars, it went up against Titanic, and it actually won a couple.
Couple.
Yeah.
Oscars and Academy. Right.
This film was helmed by Curtis Hanson. It had a budget of $35 million and a box office return of $126.2 million.
Good shit.
So, yeah.
Solid. Especially going up with that year.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I remember
and
seeing that as a kid, like seeing the movie,
Yeah.
the movie posters, and being like, "Wow, that looks provocative."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's
I mean, I was 10 years
definitely
old.
it catches the eye. Every poster for this movie was very it evoked the feelings of its genre, which is what you want, but it doesn't always happen.
Truly.
And that's
Man, they deeply do.
that's huge for not just a big year for films, but a big year for moviegoers. We're talking about just between Titanic and this movie, over $1 billion in ticket sales.
Huge. And in '97.
Mm-hmm. So this was the perfect time for this movie to come out. You know, it's a resurgence of kind of the hard-boiled detective story,
Right.
and it's a refreshing note, as very sickening as parts of this movie can be, and very grimy and gritty.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to not have that buddy cop or the Lethal Weapon or the Turner and Hooch. So it's in the 80s we had these happy-go-lucky, like devil-may-care detectives, and this throws it all the way back to pulp novels.
Yeah, and it's funny you say like that devil may kind of character, because I mean they all kind of follow that same trope as we need to get over what we've been dealing with and be honest again. They all kind of follow that route. I mean, all three of them, and we're introduced to them the same way. We need to watch these characters, and that's it.
I would argue that the two of the detectives, we've got Bud White, so Russell Crowe's character, and Guy Pearce's character, Ed Exley. They don't necessarily break the form and come back to being like true good guys. Jack Vincennes does. Jack Vincennes flat out says, "I made a mistake. I got to make it right."
Yeah.
But the other two
After
are
some innocent actor gets
Right, exactly.
The other two
He
are
got a bullet to
very
his chest.
just who they are.
Right.
You know, Russell Crowe is a hothead
Yeah.
who, you know, he's got a thing in his craw against certain
Crowe?
kinds of men.
Right.
You know, he just, you know, abusive men
Right.
and guys that take advantage. He blows his top. And then we've got Exley, Guy Pearce, who he's living in his dad's shadow, and that's what drives him forward. They call him early on. They call him more of a politician than a cop.
Right. And they both kind of lend like that paradox where they're both like
in their dad's shadow.
and then also twisting into like good cop gone bad and bad cop gone a little bit good. So like it's a crossing pattern that still follows parallel lines, and it's a really cool connection on that. You know,
the common theme between all three of them, and it's like you said, is introduced right away when the character arc starts. Is that it's the common theme is honor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's how Exley and White, you know, Exley is like throwing his colleagues under the bus because that's the honorable thing to do.
Yeah.
White's, you know, he's standing up for women after him watching his dad
and also
kill his
not
mom.
and also not taking on his partners, which is also honorable.
Yeah.
But so there's honor.
But
is
it's
a,
even
it's a
with-
shifting thing in
yes.
this movie. You know,
But even with Vincennes, that's where it shifts for me, where it's
Right.
like he has no honor, and it's he's selling everybody out to the press.
And it's funny that he's the only likable cop
Yeah.
Right.
Like this is a movie full of deplorable police officers.
Yes, you're absolutely
Like
right.
just
I mean,
you
he's
can't
in
get
on a
behind
TV
Russell
show.
Crowe. Yeah.
You know, he's that guy, that movie goer. Hey, he's the guy. You know,
But the
everyone wants
bloody
to be
Christmas
around.
scene when
Right.
he's just like there
Yeah.
in his nice suit. As soon as he gets blood on
Yeah.
his suit,
Yeah.
that's when he
Done.
starts throwing punches.
Yeah.
Like it shows his like lack of honor,
Right.
his
Yeah.
superficialness,
Yeah.
and it's they paint that picture right away,
Dude, and that's why I love I love the writing of this movie. Like we haven't got really into that yet, but I mean, being able to take these three guys and go through their character web and their arc, as Shasti said, movement and honor, how tough it is for every aspect of this character trope.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they were able to do in 2 hours. Amazing. I really loved all the hatred and guilt that you're left with by feeling with this, because you're supposed to feel that.
Yeah, this movie makes you feel gross. It really does.
Yeah,
and it's
especially
not
nowadays.
necessarily it's not necessarily because there's gross things happening. It's just the people are gross.
yeah.
Like you feel like you're rubbing shoulders with some awful folks.
And we really are. I mean, look at Kim Basinger's character, Lynn Bracken. It's basically kind of that whole cops, drugs, anything else you can think of, and then moving on. I mean, you're supposed to feel disgusted, but at the same time, you're rooting for these guys.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's kind of interesting that at the heart of there's several investigations going on, and the heart of all of them is a tabloid.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's
Hush Hush.
Yeah, it's
Danny DeVito
it's
does
the
a great job
paparazzi.
this one too. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because that's what brings it to light to begin with,
Yeah.
and it goes to show with just how media is in general, whether it's social media or how people consume media at the time. You know, tabloids were starting the same kind of thing, but it was like all the things that he was bringing to light were also all these murders that Smith ended up doing, all of them to cover loose
Captain
ties.
Dudley,
Like what you just said about like the drugs and running that is like was the underlying factor of.
And what's cool to add onto that, as far as the tabloids and the newspaper aspect of this thing, is like some of the most iconic parts of these movies where Danny DeVito and Kevin Spacey are talking, like get the light right, get the perfect shot.
Yeah.
Like the cinematography went spot on with that, like paralleled that as well. I mean, when Kevin Spacey's like, no, get the backdrop of the hotel.
Yeah.
We gotta pose it like this. This was
They're on set.
perfect, like
Yeah.
perfect parallel, perfect symmetry, and also that beautiful tilt camera up on like the kind of the skyline. I mean, it was
Even
awesome.
like at Basinger's house, like in the background, there was like a Super 8 or a 35 mil, like just an old school 50s camera. Like they went that extra step to showcase the cinematography at that time.
in the 50s, and really draw you into that gritty kind of.
Yeah, and we're talking about the second evolution of film. Really, you know, the 50s we're talking post-war. This is all new money, and Hollywood went through a huge overhaul during the late 40s and early 50s. So, you know, the concept of tabloids and celebrity took on a different light. You know,
People were like ready for that distraction.
Yeah.
And it almost sparked this.
And it was
They
kind
were-
of cool
they
that
were
Danny
more
DeVito,
curious.
the tabloidist, is kind of the narrator to this film and bringing it across.
very much
you
so.
know.
Yeah, I like that element.
And
do
normally
too.
I don't. Like normally, like I'm lost in a good script.
I mean,
until
it kind
the-
of sounds like the Lorax.
Yeah.
Though, too, at the same time.
yeah, dude, totally.
You know, it's seriously the same kind of approach.
No,
Like
but
Lorax,
normally that's like the first thing I would like lock onto, especially with Dave.
narrator,
like
yeah.
you're saying. But
Yeah.
it's like the writing is so good where I'm just engulfed in it.
And it's
Right.
believable narration
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yes.
it's not narration for narration's sake.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, and I think it stands out to you the same reason it does to me, is it's lazy.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we express this? Oh, we got somebody to just tell it.
Yeah.
Well, in this
Yeah.
case, his narration, when it zooms through the camera, you know, kind of goes through his window, and when it lands on him, he's typing up his article and he's saying it out loud to himself. It's like, oh, this is totally immersive.
Yep.
I believe this narration.
And that ding at the end of every hush hush, and
Yeah.
then ding, and it's on to the next chapter.
It
So it paces well, and it's shot well, and the story lines up
Yeah, and it's punctuated
huge.
well.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so huge to have a crime mystery to fall into. I mean, you watch Clue and stuff. It's like they want to create that kind of level. But this movie, this film,
It's noir.
it's
hard boiled.
It's true.
It's core level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're engulfed, and it's not a joke. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that kind of shooting.
You're
But
getting 3 crime noir stories in
Right,
this movie
right,
that all
exactly.
tie into something like way bigger. And I was joking with you guys about like the Scooby Doo format, but after all the main characters are introduced, right? And there's the Bloody Christmas, right? It's the first thing. The scene after the first like instigative scene. The first good guy you see is the bad guy for every Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
As well, like I've seen this movie a million times.
Like
Like,
Scoob,
yeah.
it's the commissioner.
Just pull the mask. Yeah, pull the mask.
Should have known. Captain Dudley. Should have known from the start. After all
Yeah,
these
I
Scooby-Doo,
mean-
you're totally right with that.
But-
It's actually perfect.
But I mean, Smith.
we should have went super simple with this.
Yeah,
This is like
Smith-
blame the commissioner, the captain.
Captain Dudley, Dudley Smith, James Cromwell.
James Cromwell. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry. Is
The-
it was so convincing. Like I
Uh-huh.
said, you're sucked in the story, even if you've watched it a million times and seen Scooby Doo 200
Yeah.
times. It's you're at that point.
Well,
where-
everybody's really playing their role. Like
Exactly.
you
Yes.
believe Russell Crowe has
Yes.
has a temper.
Yeah.
You believe that Guy Pearce is slimy. You believe that James Cromwell is crooked and really good at hiding it. And this is the same guy who played the farmer in Babe. Like that's range.
It's
next week.
yeah, right. And also this is Russell Crowe's second film.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's a baby in this industry, and he was cast. I forgot the name of the movie, but he was a hard-headed, skinhead kind of guy, and he was cast because of his rage scenes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. He was able to show his. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying they almost needed with the budgeting when it first
Yeah.
started to
Yeah.
have 3 no-name actors. Like with Guinea Spinotti.
Guy
on
Pearce,
here.
Guy Pearce too. I mean,
Yeah,
the
no name.
first,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
they apparently the screenwriter and the director bumped into each other, and they kind of decided to work together because they had both read the book and they knew it was going to be adapted, and they had an identical idea for how to adapt it. They're like, all right, these 3 guys, they're the primary stories, and the way they pitched it to Warner, the production company, was, all right, we're going to get 2 no-namers so we can keep the budget down and keep the audience immersed.
and Spacey.
But we're going to have all our supporting cast be totally recognizable. So you've got Basinger, you've got Spacey, you've got Cromwell, you've got DeVito, these recognizable names and faces, but you're not following them through the meat of the story.
Yeah, like per hour when they're, doing their bidding formula for that. I can see that now with how big of a role Dan DeVito, like he's the narrator. And
Yeah.
he's really only in
Right.
4 scenes.
Well, hold on. I
compared-
mean, like, let's talk about that for a second,
Yeah.
because Kim Basinger was in the movie for 15 minutes, like right around
Yeah.
15 minutes of
That's
screen
where-
time.
that's-
She won
yeah.
Best Supportive Actress that
Yeah.
year. That was one of two things they brought home.
Now, hold on.
Do you want a word?
But before we dive into the world of LA's debauchery, let's be a little debaucherous.
Okay.
We got some local.
Let's have a
debauchery
drink.
going on.
So I really wanted to get you guys in the mindset of 1950s LA. So what you have in front of you is a traditional Tom Collins. This is 2 ounces of gin, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 an ounce of simple syrup, and then the rest is club soda. Drinks back then we're out of prohibition now, and people are partying again.
Yes, we are.
And these drinks are steep. And the other reason that
We're out of quarantine. We're partying.
so there's a whole family of Collins drinks, and this is the one that was the most popular because it felt fancy because gin was British. So LA naturally gravitated towards, what's the most fancy version of this? And there is your Tom Collins history lesson. All right.
You're right. Boozy and
No, this
straightforward.
is not the
Boozy
time
and
to
refreshing.
not the time to hush hush here, Greg. What's that, LA
Confidential stuff
confidential?
only.
Confidential. Let me wipe my whiskers here.
All right, so let's talk Kim Basinger and her role.
Right.
Because this won her an Oscar, did it not?
Academy Award. So she was, her real character name is Lynn Bracken, but she's supposed to be playing Veronica Lake, kind of a stand-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't get too
And
much into
analog,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yes. So as it lies, she's very attractive, and Russell Crowe
don't
likes to
say.
fix. Russell Crowe likes to
attractive woman
fix
on
fix things, and he kind of feels that she's broken, and she kind of feels that he's broken, and they kind of use each other to build each other up. But like I said before, 15 minutes of scene time won her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Which
In a year where Billy Zane won an Academy Award. So.
Right, and they also won
Best adaptation
for
the
a
writing,
screenplay,
which we were just talking about. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's the 2 that they got.
Yeah.
And they had 9 more nominations.
Right, and then
So out of
I think
11, they won 2,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
up against Titanic.
and they won all.
Yeah.
They cleaned house.
Yeah.
They cleaned house. So I mean, in a world full of big ships,
Yeah.
this movie stands up.
Yeah.
The legend that could.
Another Titanic joke.
Well, the titans of the film industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a masterclass in how to take a classical film style and modernize it.
Right.
So you've got
Exactly.
you've got costume designers who are meticulously planning. All right, how were the shoulder points on
Yeah.
their suits back then? How were ladies' dresses fitted? And then set designers, like we're talking about having that that camera in the background that unless you're looking for it, you're gonna miss it. The attention to detail
Yep.
across the board.
For the police stations
Yeah.
or the bathrooms or the kitchens
Yep.
is
Absolutely.
to
And
the time.
A lot of that comes down to not just your director, but your cinematographer and your
Dante
DP
Spinotti, I believe, right?
really, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Really caring about the product, not just the project,
Really.
but like what they're putting forward, and wanting it to be an immersive experience.
Another reason we were talking about just the script and the character arc, even with Danny DeVito narrating it, it's still so submersive, and it goes just like the majority of the reason for Spinotti, and it's Guy Pearce said in one of the interviews that Dante. He gives you a quality of dimension that other directors can't give you, and you got to think like the cameras. It was the Panaflex Gold 2, the 35 mil. Like I was telling you guys, it's like the new iPhone. They have the commercial. It's like cinematic, and
Yeah.
it's like the focus just racks from one person to the other. Where in this time you needed attachments in between your lens, and your image sensor,
Right in between our lenses.
and yeah, right. Yeah. but he was able to use all of these tools in a way to create these depths and these scenes in LA that just like we keep saying makes it more immersive.
Yeah.
But all of his actors gave him the credit of giving you this quality of dimension
For sure.
that you weren't getting from other directors. At the
Well,
time.
he's essentially, like, to make a nerdy reference here, he's essentially playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare with a modified Nintendo 64 controller. He's got all these attachments that he needs to do what the current technology does that we take
Right.
for granted.
Yeah.
He's got all this stuff going on just to accomplish. His job is to not be noticed, to accomplish things that you won't notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Same way like a baseball umpire. The best umpire, you
Don't
don't
know
know
he's
he's there.
Yeah.
Same way as the creation of film and seamless.
Even like the night shots, like a lot of the outdoor shots. So if you think cinematography, like we're talking about the cameras and angles and everything, like forget that. Like all these really intense scenes in the movie being outdoors and at night, that's hard to light alone. A, because you're not on set with any kind of lighting, but B, you have to like when there is proper lighting on your shot. Say like the scene where they're in the hotel or the house or whatever, and it gets shot up. Like we talk about the camera being on one side and the light being on the other, right? You
Yeah.
have to give motivation. So it comes down to stuff like bullet holes that were shot in the wall. There's light shining through those.
Yeah. Where's
You know
the
what I mean?
lamp in the
Or
room?
the car that's
Yeah.
driving by is giving the light from the correct angle.
Yeah.
So beyond like the it's crazy like the camera list, right? Because that was the top of the line one.
yeah.
There was a million stabilizers and like that. There was 10 different aperture
just to get
attachments.
certain and on one shot sequences. Yeah.
But I mean, beyond that, like the length they went to make the lighting convincing.
Mhm.
You always have to give motivation.
Yeah.
Even if you're building a set, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a window, only one window in the room. You're building a set and putting that window here.
Just right there. Yep.
Wherever the lighting, because it's false lighting.
Right.
In reality.
Yeah.
But when it's, like I said,
It can't look that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's they went above and beyond.
Mhm.
Dante did, his whole staff did. I wish we could give more people credit.
Yeah.
Because a movie like this, like.
There's hundreds of people on set. Yeah. And it's just the overall result is absolutely phenomenal because I'm able to watch a movie like LA Confidential and get so lost in the story that I have to I need to be paying attention to
Yeah.
technical aspects.
Yes,
This movie
yes.
made me so sick.
Yeah.
Like the content.
Right.
And I was talking to you on the phone right after I finished. I'm like, all right, so this movie clearly inspired a lot of things that came after. Like 11 years later, we had Street Kings, that Keanu Reeves movie. Beat for beat, almost the same film.
Right.
And this movie does it better with older technology and just old school film.
Right.
Old school filming.
And and
yeah.
to go back on the old school filmmaking, there's that final sequence when they're kind of locked into that final room where they were not friends,
Yeah.
Exler and Bud. But it was they threw back that old sequence of like the Butch and Sundance Kid.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
it was like they smirked across each other. They knew we got to fight it
Yeah.
out. They knew that they're probably gonna die, and they just
Except they
dealt
both
with
sur-
it.
that
And they're
was
like
the only
they're
difference,
throwing
they
each other
both
stuff. It was like I loved that the throwbacks on that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I truly believe that was intentional. That it's too.
I think it was too.
obvious.
I think it
to
was
not
too.
reference
Totally,
Butch and
totally.
Sundance.
Because the author was naturally very involved in the adaptation.
Yeah.
And when he read that scene, he almost ixnayed it. He said, "This isn't believable." And the director, according to some interviews, he's like, "Yeah." He just smiled at me and said, "Why don't you come see it when we shoot it?"
Yeah.
Exactly. Because
And then
that's the only
he
part that
started
draws
counting.
them together as like now they're bonded. You know what I mean? After this whole movie of them,
Well, they made it make
with
sense.
his lady and stuff. You know,
They made it make sense.
Right, exactly.
So on paper,
Which is
it's
so-
like,
it seems so
two
weird.
guys
You don't
that are
see that.
wounded take out
Right.
15 dudes. But in this moment, they pull a Butch and Sundance, and they give themselves a bottleneck that everybody
Yeah.
has to come through.
Yep.
And now it's no longer fighting 15 guys at once. It's bullet rationing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
becomes the game.
Yeah. For as much as White or Russell Crowe's character is like
Yeah, but,
that noir trope, that's undeniable. Just like that bottleneck Butch Cassidy.
Yeah, I mean they both
Obviously, it's a
they both
different
grow
outcome.
so much.
Yeah.
But he's,
Yeah.
he's known as a stupid guy, just a bruiser, and he climbs that kind of ladder into
Yeah.
like I'm better than this. Same way Exler is like I'm too smart for this brawn. You know what I mean?
But they
He
both
kinda
end up
climbs
in
it.
that same
And they have to
scenario.
work with each other
Like
and
that
they
difference
play
of
off.
code of honor that's
Exactly.
established right away in the beginning
Exactly.
between the three.
Yeah.
That's like Spacey dies,
Yeah.
but then they like Crow and Pierce are such polarizing characters. It's seeing them in that scenario at the end is like
Yes.
It's a capstone.
pulls everything.
Yeah.
Capstone.
yeah.
Exactly.
High watermark, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's perfectly executed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And no, there's a
I don't
lot
know-
to lot to discuss when it comes to this movie. But I think we're just gonna go in circles after this because
Right.
we've kind of touched
Addressed
on the
most,
really big
yeah.
things. So, before we go into our final segment, Greg, did you have anything else you wanted to discuss?
Not really discuss. Just
Like any
give
final
my
thoughts?
tip of the hat to the creator, the writing, the directing, the cinematography. I mean, literally, it takes a team to put forth this kind of movie, and this is what this kind of movie is. It's top tier crime mystery. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's ever been a better one. Some will agree, but just watch the movie. I watch the movie, man. It's so good.
Totally.
Get lost in it, man. Get lost for 2 hours.
Mikey, any thoughts before we go to ratings?
I mean, this is a movie, I've loved for a long time. I've seen a million times. I think the only thing now is with my appreciation and what I love about film might
Yeah.
just be to read the why they got the best adaptation. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like that's
the
all
book,
that's
yeah.
left for me right now
Yeah.
is to read the book,
Read the
and
book.
I might, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, and I have to tip my hat to both, the visual team and the story writers, because we're talking about racking focus between characters on screen, but we're also racking focus between characters, and everybody else is kind of generic, and they have to be so that these guys pop.
Yep.
Story wise.
But they also put
that's
like,
fantastic.
even surrounding stories behind them that are like his partner's a drunk in the backseat. Sorry,
Yeah.
we're closing out, but there's also this surrounding bubble that makes this they're creating the atmosphere for this world. And
They're making it feel like a full world while still just focusing on a few individuals.
Absolutely.
And that's tough to do. Now, Greg, I have a question for you.
down to brass tacos.
I have a brass tacos. So there are some guys that supposedly sell tacos in this movie. So we have a weird, almost borderline racist connection.
You would.
Greg, out of 100 tacos, how would you rate LA Confidential, with 0 being the worst and 100 being the best?
Been back and forth on this a few times. I gotta put this one up there because of the genre. Because of the genre and how it's played out, this movie sits above the 90s for me. It's gonna get a 91 just because of the genre focus on this. I mean, it's an amazing movie. 91. I think
It's been a while
amazing.
for a 90 for you.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm very
I think I got one too.
very
I think I got a 90.
All right,
Crushed.
a 90.
I think I got a 90
All right.
because with the narration, Danny DeVito especially.
Yeah.
Lorax, Matilda.
even with the narration
Yeah.
and with Russell Crowe being your most stereotypical noir detective, right? He's bad guy, turns good. He gets shot. You think he dies. He survives. He gets the girl. Those are like the two comforting things I need in every story. And then there's this whole world of mystery
Yeah.
that you're just, whether you've seen it one time or a
Shell
dozen
shocked.
times. Yeah.
It's like
And it's clear there's more.
Yeah,
It's clear
90.
there's more.
90
Yeah.
tacos. Sorry for dragging that on.
No.
oh, good stuff.
90
It's worth it.
tacos.
91.
I'm gonna go dead even with Grego and call it a 91.
I love it,
It's a
boys.
91,
We're
right?
never
Yeah.
this close. I love it.
91.
Tell me why.
As
Yeah,
a writer, as a storyteller, and also as someone who reviews movies for a living, essentially, this is a masterclass in how to write anti-heroes. There are no heroes in this movie.
Very
There's
true,
just
very
despicable guys that you have to
very
kind of follow. And it's very refreshing to see that, and I applaud everyone involved.
Refreshing
91.
yet abysmal.
Oh, it's gross.
Yeah,
it's gross.
right.
Like, it's refreshing. It's like
Yes.
jumping in a dirty pool.
You gotta take a shower after
You know,
this, you
like,
know.
the water feels nice, but when you
Pop up
get out, you're
Mentos.
covered in
It's like Diet Coke with Mentos.
it's explosive. All right, so let's take a look at Rotten Tomatoes and see how close we are. Holy cow!
All right.
All right.
Speak on it.
So,
All right, we're there.
the critic score is a 99. That may
Love
be
it.
the highest critic score we've seen so far.
Seriously, even I think Godfather was 97.
But
It's- yeah.
even with our just us scoring, we've between 90 and 91. This is the closest we've ever agreed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's probably
We should probably
the first
boost it
time
5
we're
points.
under both the audience
Yeah.
and tomato meter.
That's
and
true.
that close together.
Yeah, because that audience score is a 94, so we all undershot it.
Yeah.
But I think everybody agrees that this is a top 100 film.
100%.
No denying that.
Yeah, so it's
100.
that actually makes me feel really good. It's like, we
We're within 1 point. Of
we
each other?
pegged this at a 91, 90, you know. So I feel like we're critiquing at a high level here. Audience, are you critiquing at a high level?
Audience.
Let us know.
Are you reading at a 5th grade level?
I am.
Hop down in the comments and give us your taco rating, not tomato rating, because fuck tomatoes. Your taco rating for LA Confidential. Let us know why you rated it that way. Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Did we rate it too low or too high? That said, you all know all the internet stuffs that you can be doing to get more of us in your ear holes and eyeballs. So, Greg, Josh, thanks for watching this
Thank
movie
you.
with me. I had a blast.
Thank you.
I feel gross. I need to take a shower.
Papa Mentos.
So, audience, I need to say goodbye.
Bloody Christmas. The press love to label.